Hello, just a quick note before we begin today's lesson. If you're in the Jade or the Indigo group, just like you did a few times last week, you need to go and watch Mr. Goodall's English video today, which is called the Amber video. It might even say Jade and Indigo on it too. So you just need to watch his video in English today and follow his instructions. And lucky for you, you can ignore me. If you're not in the Jade or the Indigo group, carry on watching. Good morning, Year 3, and welcome to Miss Panata's comedy show. You have all been sending in some scenes that you have written for my brother Rishiv to act out. And before we carry on with today's reading lesson, I did promise that the winners of this week's submissions would get to see him act it out in real life. I have to say, I was absolutely cackling with laughter when I was reading some of these scenes. You had some hilarious ideas, and I wish that we could do all of them. Unfortunately, we can't shoot all of them. We might do one or maybe two. Keep watching to see how many we do. I am going to read out, however, some of the best ones. Remember that the LI was all about using powerful verbs. A lot of people created a lot of comedy. They came up with some funny situations. But what I was really looking out for was some excellent writing, using verbs to create a really vivid mental picture. So, here are a couple of the best submissions of the week. First of all, this one is from Dima, and she has written, Rishiv is in bed, sleeping, dreaming of doing beautiful ballet. He was dreaming and was doing ballet in his sleep. He was joyfully dancing when suddenly thump, he fell off the bed. He woke up and wished that he had never even seen a ballet dream. So this was really funny because of the idea of someone actually trying to dance in their sleep. But what I really liked was the use of the adverb joyfully dancing. So that really tells him how he's supposed to act. He's not dancing like really looking too sleepy or tired. He's actually looking joyful. So that's really good. Then we had one from Mohammed. So Mohammed has been inspired, I think, by Rishiv's love of Peppa Pig. It starts off, one day, Rishiv heard Peppa Pig on the TV. Then he approached as fast as Flash. As he entered the room, he tripped over the ball and fell flat on the floor. He got onto the chair but fell down on the floor and asked everybody laughed. He asked surprisedly, "What?" So this has loads of different verbs and descriptions of movement that are really powerful. He's used the word approached, and he's actually used a simile to describe how Rishiv approached. So he said approached as fast as Flash, which is really good. I love that simile. Then we've got as he entered, that's a different verb. He tripped, that's a different verb. Fell flat, that's a different verb. Fell down, that's another verb. And laughed and asked. So many, plus a use of direct speech to end the scene, which I'm sure would be a really funny moment. And he tried to use the word surprised as an adverb. Unfortunately, we can't actually say surprisedly. You could just say he asked, comma, surprised, comma, what? So you can describe Rishiv as being surprised rather than describing his asking as being surprisedly, just because unfortunately the adverb surprisedly doesn't exactly exist. But well done, Mohammed. Really good achievement of the LI, and I really enjoyed this scene. Then we had one from Hera. This was really good because of the level of detail. One day, Rishiv was lying on the sofa and was watching a football match on the TV. As he was watching the match, he fell asleep and started dreaming about himself playing football. He then started kicking his legs and moving his head as if he was playing football in real life. As he dreamt of scoring a goal, he got excited and waved to the crowd. Suddenly, he fell off the sofa. He got up and looked around embarrassingly to make sure no one saw. So this is funny. It's actually similar to Dima's idea of him doing something embarrassing in his sleep. Except this time he's watching a football match. As we know, my brother likes to watch football matches. We've got lots of different types of verbs, but what I really liked is the use of conjunctions and the way that the sentences flow together. So we've got one day, that's a nice opening to the sentence, blah, 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 blah. As he was watching the match, he fell asleep. I really like the use of as he was doing something, comma, he did something else. And then later on, it actually says suddenly, so we've got a fronted adverbial, an adverb right at the beginning of the sentence. Suddenly, he fell off the sofa. So well done to Hero, this is very sophisticated writing. And I also really enjoyed the image of him falling off the sofa while he was trying to score a goal and wave to the crowd. Then we have Ashvini. Now Ashvini wrote a really great scene. She's actually written it in the first person, which it was supposed to be in the third person, so describing Rishiv, but it was still a really nice scene, so I wanted to include it, even though there's that small mistake. I am doing stretch exercise on a big rubbery gymnastic ball. I am lying flat on my tummy on the ball and trying to balance on it, like I am surfing in the water. I put soft and fluffy pillows around me, so when I fall, I will feel like crawling in the clouds. Suddenly, I lose my balance and cannot get it back, trembling to one side like I am doing a roly-poly. Like a turtle upside down with my legs and arms up in the air, struggling to get up. So I really enjoyed this because of all the different types of descriptive phrases. So we've got big rubbery gymnastic ball, lovely expanded noun phrase there. Then we've got some few similes, like I am surfing in the water, like crawling in the clouds. We had the word trembling. That's a really good piece of vocabulary. I love the word trembling. And then the image at the end, another great simile, like a turtle upside down with my legs and arms up in the air, struggling to get up. That's a really funny image and a great simile that makes me really imagine that scene. The only thing is that last sentence, notice that it doesn't have a subject and a main verb, which means it's actually not technically a sentence. It's actually not, it's just a phrase. Like a turtle upside down with my legs and arms up in the air, struggling to get up. So we haven't got I am like or I was like a turtle. That would make it into a sentence. So just be careful making sure that you include a subject and a main verb in each of your sentences. Finally, we have this one from Subeda. Now, I really liked this because it has some great descriptions, it's very funny, it's very creative, and I can really imagine the scene. One blazing hot summer day, Rishiv was eating an ice lolly. But little did he know that he was allergic to one of the ingredients. He felt a shiver up his throat. He dropped the ice lolly and ran upstairs to video chat with his friends. In the middle of the video, his face started to puff up as his mouth started to drool saliva. He dropped his phone and ran to the toilet shouting, "I'm hideous!" So I love the intro, one blazing hot summer day, really sets the scene. I like the phrase, he felt a shiver up his throat. That almost makes me feel it, it's so evocative. My throat shivering. Then the description of his face changing. His face started to puff up as his mouth started to drool saliva. And then at the end, I like the suddenness of when he drops his phone and runs to the toilet, and a bit of direct speech used correctly there. I'm hideous. So well done, Subeda. These were all excellent extracts. Now I'm going to show you a few of them. Have a think. When you watch them, can you remember who wrote that story and how they wrote it? And can you see how Rishiv is acting? Is he acting out all of the details from the story? And how did the writing help him to know how to act in each scene?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, oh my god, I'm having such a hard day today. Just not motivated to do any work. My mum keeps shouting at me and... Hey, wait, mate, there's something wrong with your face.
Oh my god, we're not in a face,
I'm hideous! Come on, come on! Ah, come on! Oh. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Hello, so hopefully you enjoyed seeing some of those silly stories brought to life. My brother is very embarrassed about the silly things we made him do, but if you appreciated it, please do send me an email or leave a comment or give this video a thumbs up to say that you enjoyed it. We're now going to move on to our reading lesson. We've finished a little bit of a recap and evaluation of the writing that we did last week, so this reading lesson is just going to be quite short. Before we start, can you please make sure you've got the date and LI, which is here on my left. The date is the 11th of May 2020. This subject is reading and grammar, and the LI is use the details in a text to help predict what might happen. So pause the video here and write that down. Okay, hopefully you should have written that down already. So you can see below here, it says, read the beginning of chapter 8 and discuss how to make a logical prediction. So in a second, not yet, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and read the beginning of chapter 8, which leaves us at a certain point in the story. At that point in the story, we don't know what Evie is going to do next or what is going to happen next. So what I need you to do is think about all the bits of the story that you know so far and write down what you think will happen next. It's really important for your prediction that you try to make it as logical as possible. Do you know what logical means? Normally, logical means that it has to make sense and it has to follow some sort of reasoning. Okay, you can't just make a prediction out of nothing. So can you predict that the next thing that will happen in Evie in the Jungle is that a spaceship will come out of the sky and land in the rainforest? You could predict that, but it wouldn't be a very good prediction because normally when we predict, we try to look at what's happened in the text so far and what would realistically happen next. Even though the writer could decide to have an alien drop out of the sky, it's probably not very likely. So we're trying to think about what's the most likely thing that will happen. So you need to look at clues from the story. For this one, I'm not going to help you by giving you an example because we've already worked on predictions before. The important thing is when you're making your prediction, look at the last paragraph of the text that you've just read and think about what you know about the story already. Is it logical to think that Evie is going to go and burn down the whole rainforest? No, it isn't, because Evie loves the rainforest and she loves the animals, so she wouldn't do that. So try to think, what do you know about Evie? What do you know about the story? What do you know about all the characters who are in the scene that you've read up to? And what do you think is the exact next thing that's going to happen? Not something that's going to happen in 1 hour's time or in 1 year's time in the story, the exact next thing that's going to happen. So now you know you're going to have to make a prediction. What I want you to do is to read chapter 8. So this is chapter 8, the tingle in Evie's head that was the start of a brilliant idea. This is chapter 8. So I want you to read this chapter, read this first page, read the next page, read the next page, next page, until you see this little symbol here of the frog. So the last bit that you're going to read is, "Wait," said Evie, "there is. I mean, there might be. I've got an idea, and it just might work." So that's where you're going to stop your reading. And then I want you to go ahead and make your prediction and write it down. And in a second, I'm going to show you exactly how I want you to phrase and structure your answer. But first, pause this video, go ahead and read chapter 8 all the way until Evie says she's got an idea, which is here. Do not go past it because that's cheating. Stop there, and then you're going to make your prediction based off that section of the story. So you should have read up to the halfway point that I showed you of chapter 8, and now it's time to write your prediction. So get your pencils ready. When you answer your questions, try to use this beginning of the sentence opener, "I predict that." So you could say whatever you predict. You could say, "I predict that Evie is going to come up with a plan," but you need to give a reason for your prediction. So you need to say, "And I think this because..." So the two phrases you're going to need to use are "I predict that" and "I think this because." And then once you've written that down, take a picture of your work and send it into the Year 3 email address so I can see what you all think is going to happen next in the story. I look forward to seeing your work.